What's up, guys? I hope you're doing well. James here from jamesdforesight.com, doing official book review for Fed Up by Danielle DiMartino Booth. I first that light really reflected in there, but I first noticed her. One from Twitter, because she posts some good things on Twitter, and then also just from referencing and stuff for other people I listen to. But anyways, this book was actually, I thoroughly enjoyed this book, especially it's obviously about the Federal Reserve. The whole title is Fed Up, an insider's take on why the Federal Reserve is bad for America. So to say that this is a good book, I don't think does it justice, because normally, with books about the Federal Reserve, they tend to be rather dry and can be difficult to finish, even for me, and I enjoy reading about this stuff all the time. But like this one was actually, I finished this one in well under a week. And that was with me working out of town for 12 hours straight every single day. It's 270 pages, so it's not like a Bible or a college textbook or whatever, but it's also not a pamphlet. But it was definitely a good book. It also has reviews from other authors that I've read their books to and listened to. So like James Rickards, I've read a few of his books. There's, Peter Buckvar I've looked into. James Grant. He wrote a chapter and some commentary for The Intelligent Investor, which is another one that's really good, which is a really good read. And then Nomi Prinz is another one I've heard of. But anyways, specifically more on the Federal Reserve, there's a lot of cool little facts in here. Things that you never really would think about or would be very difficult to find unless you found out from the inside in a way. And she does a very good job of doing a lot of, I don't want to say doing a lot of research, but basically there's 270 pages for the actual book part itself, and then it seems like literally the rest of it is just notes. And there's 317 pages total, so that's 47 pages of just notes, and I definitely recommend it. There's 263 notes with citations. And I literally, as I was reading this, I was highlighting things. I've marked a few pages that I need to go back and reread. It goes rather in depth on, yes, the Federal Reserve System itself from a different perspective. I got the idea that she's very kind of against how the Fed is, but not against the Fed. Right? And so I guess fed up with the Fed, but not end the Fed, to see how many times you can say Fed in the same sentence. And this is also the first book I read after reading End the Fed by Ron Paul, or Dr. Ron Paul. And I made a video about that one as well. And this one she gives very good insights and really deep, but also from, I don't know if I'd say journalistic point of view, sort of in a way, I would assume from how her history is with the Federal Reserve and where she was in research and where she would do the briefs and stuff for the Dallas Reserve Fed president and a few other things, but definitely I think is a must read. Goes into how she studied some of the shadow banking with Zoltan Pozsar, how that went into 2008, how it really wasn't subprime mortgages. And so going through there, specifically that section and stuff, was really helped me connect dots, because it's one of those, you need to repeat the information before, because there's a lot of it. And so some of the stuff that she's written that really kind of clicked was I've heard before, but it never really synthesized until I read the way she described it. So specifically with the global financial crisis, right? And kind of understanding that from its from the perspective of what was going on in like the shadow banking and I guess sort of Eurodollar system, and seeing kind of how those may mesh. She also cites a few actual papers and stuff, which will be, I'll make videos on later, because I found them online and I plan on going over them, specifically some of Posar's work on the shadow banking system, and because that's one area that I'm very fuzzy on and that is a deep interest of mine. And so going in there and looking at the charts and how he depicts stuff and there's like I forget how many different parts of it, but it's kind of a comprehensive view of the shadow banking system that I believe she refers to as the circuit board, because that's kind of how it's depicted. But yeah, there is a lot of stuff. Even if you just like, it's both educational and entertaining at the same time. And a lot of the times you just don't get that with books on the Federal Reserve, or you get them from, say, one point of view. And this was definitely an alternate point of view, which is one that I always try to seek out alternate points of views. And if you've noticed, like a lot of even the book reviews now that I've already done, there's multiple different points of view. Like she actually, I don't want to say calls out, but definitely talks about and the Fed, Rand Paul, and FOIA requests with the Fed, and similar things. And I even think she states explicitly later about how she seems to be one that believes that we need a central bank, which it's one of those I'm not going to argue for or against that topic. That's one, not the point of this video, and two, I think deems a lot more research on my part before I can make that. Otherwise, it'd just be more of a political slash, I don't want to say emotional, but kind of, there would not be much logical reasoning behind it, or at least I think it would be inadequate, the amount of reasoning I could give to it. And to be honest, I'm not even decided on whether or not that's the case. And however, a lot of, especially the end, she gives some of the ideas that she has of what should be done and such, which makes a lot of sense. See if I can actually get to it. Like changing the actual structure in terms of like the terms and such for governors, how that relates to district bank presidents, changing, kind of making them more equal in terms of the districts, kind of redoing the actual geographical districts themselves in terms of some of them, like I believe there's two of them in St. Louis, or not in St. Louis, I'm sorry. There's two Federal Reserve district banks in Missouri, St. Louis and Kansas City. I think it's the Kansas City side, right? And so, sorry, it's Kansas City, it's the side that's in Missouri, that. And then also the San Francisco one has such a large, like, in relative terms compared to the other districts, and its, I guess, economic activity, it's significantly larger than the other ones. So breaking that up, but all in all, I'll definitely read this book again. I just finished it this morning when I was coming back from the work trip. So still a little bit brain dead. One, from reading the book, and two, it was a pretty decent drive. So she gives a lot of quotes. I definitely got some insights on how, I guess, more of the political side of it, and also I guess my biggest takeaway from the book in general is with how the FOMC meetings and kind of how the minutes, or I guess the FOMC statement is really kind of constructed, right? To where there's so much thought put into the specific language in it, and there's a reason for that. And instead of having the whole process being more transparent, in terms of the public. So for like Wall Street or whatever, they're kind of forced to play those games of linguistics and other things. But definitely recommend reading it. 100% actually. Gives, even just going through like and reading specific sections, it really made me realize how much I need to pay attention to the backgrounds, and I need to study the actual like the district bank presidents and the FOMC members and other stuff, and the actual people themselves, and how much of a role that plays into it, and how much of policy is based off of more or less politics, depending on, I guess, your point of view. But yeah, anyways, we're going to leave it there. This is one that I'll probably reread and then kind of talk a lot about. There's a lot of other like kind of little things put throughout the book, little nuances that you wouldn't know unless you're like working on Wall Street and things like that. Like I just saw it. Like cowboys, I didn't know what cowboys were. In terms of the whole Wall Street thing, they're managers of high-flying hedge funds, as she states, and she gives a lot of actual numbers and talks about the Soma portfolio, and just, yeah, highly recommend. So anyways, yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to reread this probably a couple times, but anyways, definitely good for starting and seeing the Fed. If you're just learning about the Federal Reserve and everything else, it'd be a great book to really, I don't want to say to start with straight out, but definitely within the first few, it's up there for sure. I think there's a reason it's on the first page of Amazon. So anyways, I'm going to leave it there. So I hope you guys have a good night, and I'll see you on the next one.